This is Studio 809.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Outdoors with Hiking Bob podcast. I am your host, Hiking Bob Falcone. You can find me on my website at hikingbob.com, which has links to my social media, my columns at the Colorado Springs Independent, my photography website, which, by the way, if you haven't checked it out, I've added a whole new black and white gallery. And I'm going through my archives and finding some black and whites and adding them to them. A lot of people like black and whites. I like them. They're really good for those old-timey pictures, especially out here in the West. You know, some of the pictures I have of some of the desert scenes look really nice in black and white. They look okay in color, but in black and white, you get that feel. Those old windmills, old trains.
It's a vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely a vibe. So I've added that to that. So that's available out there. Also, all the other podcasts we've done, all that stuff is available at hikingbob.com. And also, if you can, if you like this podcast and you want to support it, we hope you do. You can do that at Patreon. You can become a patron. That's patreon.com/hikingbob, and you can become a supporter of this podcast and get rewarded and stuff, which is all pretty cool. So all that is available, and just go to hikingbob.com and check that out. Today with me, as you heard, is Wild Westendorf.
Hey everyone, it's Wild Westendorf, and you can find me on social media, primarily Facebook and Instagram at Wild Westendorf, and my website, wildwestendorf.com.
There you go. And Kevin is out there hiking the trails that I'm getting too old to do. But it's all good fun. So we're out there, enjoying the trails and everything. So if you listen to the last week's podcast, and actually if you followed me on social media and on the podcast and my columns, you'll know that my loyal hiking companion, Cole the dog, suffered an injury about a month ago that required some surgery, which he had last week. Last Wednesday, probably about the time you may have been listening to last week's podcast, he was getting some surgery done. I'm happy to report that he is doing very well. He's got a long recovery. The recovery from this takes about 3 months. It's for an ACL, which, people tear those all the time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's an easy surgery, but it's not nearly as complex. With a dog, it's major surgery because you can't replace the ACL. And I won't go to all the details, but if you're interested, look up TPLO surgery for dogs, and you'll see how major it is. And there's differing opinions as to whether that's the best way to go or there are other alternatives, but everybody who's had any experience with it says if you do all the other stuff, you're going to end up with this surgery anyway, so just do this surgery and get it done.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty major surgery for the dog. He's doing really well. He was heavily under the influence of a bunch of anesthesia and stuff for a day or two. He's doing well. He's active. I don't think he knows he's not supposed to do stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He can do a 5-minute walk in the backyard, 4 or 5 times a day and no running loose. And in the house, he even has to be, tightly controlled. And he's wearing the cone of shame because he's got stitches and that kind of stuff. But he's maintaining very well. I think he's going to do just fine in recovery. Really, the only thing from here, he gets a cone of shame off in a couple of days.
Oh, good.
And then after that, the big thing is he just goes for longer and longer walks. And as that bone heals up where they had to cut it and graft it and plate it and screw it back together and stuff, he just goes for longer and longer walks until he's back to normal. But it's going to be a few months for the poor guy who's already gone a month without it. And
oh, yeah.
Nothing is more painful than getting that dog look at you going, you're going without me. Going, well, yeah, that's why you're in that little cage there with that cone of shame around your head and a Band-Aid around your leg. You can't go with me. But he's all good. So if anybody, I did get some emails and some questions asking about how he was, and I want to tell everybody he's doing very well, and thank you for asking. So we're hoping for the best.
Good.
For our puppy here. He's going to be good. He's only going to be 6. He's got 6 more years at least left on him. They live to be 12 or so. So he's...
he's got time then.
Oh, he got plenty of time. Not that there was any alternative. What are you going to do, right? You got to get it done.
Yeah.
There was no alternative other than to get it. And the only thing that has me a little queasy is they say there's about a 40% chance we'll need it on the other leg sometime in the future, and start saving now. I will tell you, it is an expensive surgery, and I am fortunate that I can do it. And I hope that for people who may not be able to, that there's some way that they can get grants or donations or something to do it, because the dogs really need it. I mean, without it, they're just miserable. So,
oh, okay.
They lose use of one leg basically, and like Cole was hopping around. He learned how to hop around on 3 legs. He's doing actually pretty good with it. Would drag me down the street. So they adapt, but obviously that's no way for a dog to live. They need it. So,
Well, I think it's time Cole gets a god dang job. So.
well, every morning I look at him going, you got a job? You're going to help contribute here? You're going to pull your weight? What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And the look I get is, I hear the mouth moving, but I don't know what you're saying, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, we had some pretty good rain last week here, middle of last week, and we had some that stretched through most of the week.
Yeah.
There was rain here in Colorado. It was funny because I would be up in Denver and it'd be raining cats and dogs to come down here, and it wasn't. And then we would get heavy rain here, and Denver would. That Palmer Divide, it's about 30 miles north of here, it's not even that big of a hill, but boy, does it alter the weather pattern between north of that and south of that. And you could be
it's been wild.
You could be on sunshine on this side of it, drive 5 minutes, and you're in a blizzard or heavy rainstorm or something entirely, flooded roads, and on the other side it's just completely dry. It's just bizarre.
Oh, I was driving home from Denver one time at night. The weather in Denver and the weather in the Springs was fine. It was dry and stuff, but it was around springtime. So, the weather can be a little weird in springtime, but it was like March time frame, I think. And I just was suddenly in a blizzard out of nowhere, and like the snow and the wind was extremely high. I could barely see. It's nighttime because I was driving back from a concert, so it's just white knuckles the whole time. And then when I got to the Larkspur area, it was clear.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Yeah, it's just bizarre, the weather here. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, we have had, I think we've done pretty good for the weather this year here. There was concerns about whether it was going to be too dry. And when I talk about this, I want to emphasize there is a definite drought in the southwestern U.S. We've seen the pictures of Lake Mead just dropping. Things are surfacing that were lost in Lake Mead, including, unfortunately, some maybe mob hits, bodies in there. But, things have been showing up in Lake Mead. Regardless of how much rain we're getting right now, there is a significant drought in the southwestern U.S. But we've also kicked in the monsoon season. And monsoon season happens every year about this time. Usually July to August is when. And what that usually means is moist air comes in from the Pacific. You get these torrential downpours. You get a lot of rain in a hurry. They move out. The storms tend to move out pretty quickly, but they're almost a daily occurrence. So you can go 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 days with monsoons. Just boom, 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 boom. Sometimes they're accompanied by lightning. There are lightning storms. Some days they're accompanied by hail. There's typically a lot of wind. We haven't had monsoon-type weather here in actually a few years here in the Colorado area. But we've had pretty good rain. And I think this year has actually been pretty good. And again, understand this is a one-year thing. It doesn't change long years of drought conditions and stuff. We had a fairly wet winter. And again, it was one of those winters, no big snowstorm, but one snowstorm, and then a week later another one. And maybe 5 or 6 inches. Still way below normal, but we had snow, and then we've had rain pretty much all through spring and summer. Never really that monsoon stuff, but it's been pretty good, and for the most part, the good kind of rain. It's like a couple of days of nice soaking rain. It just soaks in instead of being stuff that hits so hard and just runs off and causes a flood someplace. So here we've been in pretty good shape. And you could tell that. Look at the wildflowers that are growing. Look how green the grasses are.
Oh, and the mushrooms are outrageous everywhere.
Yeah. And the wildflowers are still doing really well. I took a picture the other day in Cheyenne Mountain State Park of fields of sunflowers. They're just doing really well. I think also, and this is a topic we'll talk about, in another couple of weeks, but I think also that portends well for the fall color season, which I think is going to do really well. You look at the aspens, and they're very healthy and green and vibrant. They're not losing their leaves. Everything looks really good. But in the southwestern U.S., a little further south of here, in the area like southern Utah, Arizona, southern New Mexico, Texas, they've been getting hammered with rain. And it's not been good. Death Valley, which you never equate
wild to me,
which you don't equate with rain, had flooding.
Yeah,
with people stranded in Death Valley because of flooding. And what happens is, and for people who maybe listen to this from like the East Coast or something, the ground here you would think that it would dry and it rain and it would soak up. Well, the problem is that ground is so hard from years and years and years of not getting any rain or not getting much rain that it's like concrete. So eventually some of it will soak in, and then what that just does is turn to mud. But for the most part, it just runs off, and it goes for the lowest area. What does water do? It goes for the lowest point, and it causes flooding and things like that. So not too long ago, Death Valley had serious rain and flooding and people stranded. Over the last couple of days, we're recording this on Monday, so let's say late last week, by the time you hear this, there was significant flooding in Zion National Park.
Yeah.
And one of the most popular attractions there is the Narrows, which is basically this channel that's been made by erosion, and it's narrow, and people like to hike in there. And if you go there in the spring, you're hiking in water up to your hips. If you go there in the fall, not so much water. And I think you've hiked in the Narrows, have you not?
I've been to Zion a few times, but I have not hiked in the Narrows yet because you have to get a permit for it.
That's true. And every time I've gone, I've elected to go up to Angel's Landing because I think it's just a whole lot more fun. You need a permit for that now too, but it's we've talked about Angel's Landing, how crazy it is. So I've not been in the Narrows. I know a lot of people have. It's a popular attraction. There's a shuttle bus that takes you there, and you walk through there, and you wear the appropriate clothing. They've had a flood there. They had to rescue a number of people out there. Unfortunately, as of the time we're recording this, one person is still missing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So Zion National Park has had to deal with flooding. There's been a lot of rain just in downtown Phoenix. I see the weather reports come from there. Just the last couple of days, Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico had significant flooding from monsoon-type rains, and they had to evacuate people out of a cave.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, I am not a confined space kind of person. In all my years on the fire department, and it's kind of weird. I won't go into a lot of details about it. I was never that really claustrophobic because you're wearing a mask all the time when you're in a building, so that a lot of people get weeded out of the fire academies because they can't stand wearing that mask and for your breathing apparatus, and you get claustrophobic. A lot of people can't handle that, so eventually they get weeded out, hopefully early on, because most of what we do, if you're in a fire or hazardous materials, you're wearing a mask, or you're wearing, like when I was on in the Air Force on crash rescue, wore those big silver hoods you've probably seen with the special silver aircraft firefighting gear. So you're always wearing something over your head. As I got older, I started to get a little more claustrophobic. And I never did confined space stuff because the confined space training was they would make you squeeze through like an 18-inch pipe, and no. a little too much for me. There were other people who were really good at it, and I'll be the guy at the other end with the rope in case I have to haul them out. I'll be able to do anything else, and that's okay. In the fire service, there's a lot of specialty things. There's hazardous materials. There was investigations like I did. There was, there's confined space, high angle rescue. All these different specialties that you did that were in addition to just being a firefighter and putting out fires and stuff like that. In any case, I'm not sure you can get me into Carlsbad Caverns, and I'm not sure you can get me in there if there's a chance it's going to flood.
That's terrifying.
It would completely wig me out. So they had to get people out of Carlsbad Caverns in a hurry. I think there was did I read right? 160 people, I believe it was. Something
like that, yeah.
That number rings a bell. About 160 people had to evacuate out of Carlsbad Caverns to get them out of there. I'm leading to what this brings up to. This is affecting outdoor recreation. And what is the number one thing in leave no trace principles? The number one is plan and prepare accordingly, which not only means do I have food, do I have water, do I have a map, do I know where I'm going? It also means watching the weather. And you and I have talked, we've related stories. And we've talked about stories about people who got stuck in bad weather. We related an infamous one where I got drenched in August and ended up being hypothermic because the rain here, guess what, at 10,000 feet is pretty cold rain. And it is a thing to worry about. We've had wildfires. Obviously, Waldo Canyon fire, the Black Forest fire, and Colorado has had, I think you could say, I wouldn't say more than their share of wildfires. I think people in California would probably want to debate me on that.
Oh, yeah.
Be happy to debate you on that. I'd be happy to give you the mantle to have that you have more than we do. Not that I wish anything bad on anybody, but so we've had plenty of that stuff. So what this all boils down to is this time of year is an interesting time of year for us. It's warm weather, hot weather even. We get those monsoon thunderstorms that could bring not only lightning, but could bring hail. And trust me, I've been hit with hail the size of ping pong balls. That hurts.
Especially me, because I don't have like any hair, so it's just there's no cushion or anything up there.
Well, as I'm getting older, mine's getting thinner too. So I'm not there. I'm not with a whole lot there either. So it's important to be prepared, and part of that is checking the weather. You and I have talked about that a lot. Everybody who has anything to do, like you and I do, with outdoor recreation and being prepared and being equipped, it's always weather, weather, weather. If you're going in the winter, is there a blizzard coming? Are you sure you can get out of there? Do you know what's going to happen? In the summer, is it going to be a lightning storm? Going to be a hailstorm? Even the rain. Do you have rain gear? Is it good rain gear?
Yeah.
Do you have something to wear? In the fall, and you and I talked this last week, I think we mentioned how we love September around here because it's a beautiful time of the year. It's beautiful, and the days are warm, but the evenings get really chilly.
Yeah.
Even in the summer, the evenings get pretty chilly around here. So all this goes to being prepared for the weather. Even when we're out doing trail work, when we're building trails, repairing trails, you know what we're working on? Weather.
Yep.
We're getting the trails so that they can withstand Mother Nature and the weather. And when we go out and fix trails, we're fixing, guess what? What Mother Nature has done, what weather has done to the trails. Rains cause erosion or cause rock slides and things like that. So here in Colorado Springs, they announced it today. Again, we're recording this on Monday. You're going to hear this on Wednesday or later. They've announced a community-wide preparedness thing called COS Ready. And it's going to be a couple of components to that. One, you sign up that you get notified. You sign up so you can be part of this notification system. Then you have to know what zone you're in. So where do you live? And you pick what zone you're in. Because I think if you asked a lot of people, well, if I said that everybody within this boundary and named 4 streets and made a square, within this, bounded by these streets, is in danger, a lot of people would not know if they were in that square or not.
Okay. Yeah.
So they have this zone thing, and then you get notified if there's an emergency. Now, it also not necessarily weather related. It could be a police emergency, civil emergency, anything like that. But the nice thing is when you sign up for this is that you'll get notified by text message on your cell phone. There'll be social media announcements. So I don't know if you give them your social media address. They did a press conference today. I was not able to attend. I watched some of it. My goal is to have somebody from this system on here to talk about it a little bit later on. But they developed the system to be ready for whatever. Fire, flood, plague of locusts. The ice cream machine at McDonald's isn't working, which most of the time. All these things, I don't mean to belittle it, but all these things are going to be ready. That it's going to enhance being prepared and notified. And there's other parts of this come too, how to be ready so that when you get this, you're not running around the house like a mad person trying to, I need my drugs, I need my medication, I need this, I need that, I need food, I need water. Part of this is also being ready for all these things. Yeah. So that when alert comes up that you might have to leave your house because there's a flood, there's a fire, there's whatever is going on, you can actually get your stuff together and get out of there pretty quickly. So, COS Ready, and that's at coloradosprings.gov/ready is the address for that. It's a pretty cool thing. I think it's really, so sign up for alerts, know your zone, make a plan, be wildfire ready, prepare for all hazards. This is going to be a pretty good thing. So, I know for a lot of people living outside the area, you may be wondering what this has to do with you. The answer is, well, if you come here to visit, I think you can sign up for this. And this may be something that you bring to your city leaders in the communities you live in, especially if you're out here in the Intermountain West where you may have to deal with blizzards and also flooding. And as much as, and Kevin will tell you, as much as it's, we think this is the best place in the world to live, it is also going to be challenging because it's roasting hot in the summer. It is frigid cold in the winter. And in between, it could be anything. And you can have fires. You can have floods. You can have rock slides. You can have... The only thing we don't get here is hurricanes, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the closest thing we've gotten to a hurricane was the... what was that thing called? The bomb cyclone?
Yeah. That
happened, but that was just a day-long thing where I think a hurricane can last a few days.
Well, yeah, the effects of it it blows through pretty. I mean, I lived through a couple when I lived back east. They blow through pretty quickly. The good thing with a hurricane is for like a week they're coming.
Yeah, true.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of know. The only thing you're wondering is it going to hit here 30 miles that way or 30 miles this way or something like that. You know they're coming. They're not like tornadoes that just pop up. We rarely get tornadoes here. And when we do, they're kind of small ones. There's been a few exceptions. There was one in Lyman about 20 years ago that was a big one. But they're rare here in Colorado. But you go 3 hours east of here into Kansas, and it's a whole different ball of wax. So people on the Eastern Plains over by Kansas, they have a completely different view of these things than we do. But this COS Ready is going to be for Colorado Springs, although it's done in part with the regional emergency management agency. It's really a pretty good system. So I'm bringing this up as why this is important for people listening to this podcast. It reinforces the leave no trace, plan and prepare accordingly principle that this may be a way for you to plan and prepare accordingly. If you are out there and you're fortunate enough to have cell phone coverage, which we know can be iffy, and you get an alert, are you ready to act while you're out on the trail?
Yeah.
How do you get back? What's the quickest way back? Is it to go back the way you came or to keep going forward in the direction you were going to anyway? Were you going to bypass a trail that might end up being a shortcut for you to get back? If you really have to positively bushwhack your butt out of there, can you do that? Do you know where you're at? Do you have a map? Does it show contour lines? Do you know how steep? Are you going to walk yourself off a cliff, or are you going to be able to get down there, albeit with some difficulty, bushwhacking out of there? Do you know how to get yourself out of an emergency? All these things are things we should be thinking about as we're planning a hike, preparing a hike. When I teach trail ambassadors, and we're out walking the trail, and we've done our training, and we're doing different scenarios about interacting with people. One of the things I do is I stop everybody just randomly and say, okay, you just came across an injured hiker, and you're calling 911. I'm the 911 operator. Tell me exactly where you're at right now.
That's smart.
Do you even remember what trail you're on? How far was it? How long ago was it you passed the last trail intersection? Do you remember what the last mile marker was? Now, you may not remember it was, but do you know how far back it was? Can you run back to it and get the mile marker? All those things. That's the thing that we should all be doing. Every once in a while, we should just stop and say, where am I? Can I tell somebody where I'm at?
That's very smart to think, yeah.
Right now. Can I tell somebody I am, I don't know, do you remember what trail you're on? Do you know the number? Do you know the name of it? Do you know what trail you used to get here? Do you know where you're parked? All those things. All the stuff goes into planning and preparing and being ready for an emergency, which leads back to the COS Ready, which I really think is a great initiative.
Yeah.
The city's done. It's with the police department, the fire department, regional emergency management. I think utilities is going to get involved. All these agencies are going to get involved in this. I think it's a really cool thing, and I encourage everybody. I will have a link in the show notes for people to look at, to go back and sign up for that and be ready for something.
Cool.
What do you think, Kevin? Is this?
I think it's great. I think especially when it comes to the outdoors, you can never be too ready, too prepared. It's always better to play it safe, especially when you're in the outdoors. If you don't play it safe, that can be 10 times worse in the outdoors, in the middle of nowhere, in the desert, in the forest, in the canyon, on a mountain, than if you're in the city and you have easy access to 911 or medical care. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
It should be a great asset to the community. Hopefully this will get people thinking about being ready for something. This is going to help you be kind of ready for that. And then you'll get notification when things are going to happen, and you won't run around in a panic, because you can say, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be stressful. It's going to be a little difficult to deal with, but we can get through this.
Yeah.
I think it's what we're looking for on that.
And just the basic stuff too. If I'm doing a really long hike, I bring a ton of extra food and water than I plan on, or I bring my water filter.
Well, you're notorious for the 40-mile wrong trip, wrong turn. Sorry, I couldn't resist it. But you got out of that because you were ready for it.
Yeah. Yep. And I've even decided to take a shortcut on a hike to try and get back onto the trail, back down, because of a storm I could see. And so I made myself learn how to read a topo map and find the best route to cut around a mountain instead of going all the way to the top of the mountain, all the way down and stuff like that. Because I knew the general area I needed to go, but I used the topo map to find the easiest path.
Right.
Back in my younger years, I have done the thing where didn't really know how to read a topo map, and so I'm trying to get to a certain trail, and instead I climb out of a canyon, going straight up instead of finding a better, safer path.
Look, you were even able to get out of it.
Yeah,
and what if you were stuck in the bottom of that and a flash flood came in?
exactly. Yeah,
This is not good. But yeah, you're ready for it. I didn't mean to give you grief about your 40-mile.
Oh, no.
It's something we've talked about around here a lot. It's not a secret. And Kevin, like I do, when we make mistakes, we own up to them and we use them as learning tools. So anyway, coloradosprings.gov/ready is the website for that. I will have a link to it in the show notes, and we can definitely talk about, just everybody sign up for that and just be prepared. It's winter. It's Colorado. We could have 6 feet of snow by Thanksgiving. Highly unlikely, but, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Mother Nature always wins. Just don't forget that. Mother Nature always is going to win unless you are ready for her.
And I'll tell you, on Friday, I did a hike with a friend of mine in Cheyenne Canyon, and as we discussed the past week, it's been a lot of afternoon storms, but it's kind of like a calm rain. But I would say the one that came through on Friday was definitely a monsoon, because it came down like hard and fast. We had just gotten back to our cars, and then just bam, out of nowhere, it was buckets of rain. So we lucked out big time on that. But I brought my rain jacket. My friend did not. So the timing of that was perfect.
Whoops.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm not sharing mine.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get wet.
Yeah. And it was just this extremely intense downpour of rain for about 10 minutes, and then it stopped. But at that point, everything is wet. Temps had dropped at least 25 degrees or so. It was cold outside, and I just know if, like the story that you shared, I just know if I got caught in that without some type of rain gear, because the important part is you want to keep your core dry, so it stays warm. So if my shorts get wet, that's fine. But the important thing is to keep your core dry. But I know if I had got stuck in that rain without a raincoat, I would have been miserable and possibly gotten sick too.
It happened to me, and I can tell you how uncomfortable it was. It was miserable being up there, completely drenched to the skin in very cold rain, cold rain. It's like being in a cold shower. Mm-hmm. And August, and I was hypothermic. I mean, I was just... body temperature was dropping. It was miserable. So take that as a lesson from a couple of guys here who do a lot of hiking. And I'm sure that everyone listening to this either has had something like this happen to them or knows somebody that happened to them and has said, I'm never letting that happen to me. I think enough about that, Kevin. You got anything coming up? Any good hikes, trips coming up or anything?
Taking the last week of October off. So I'm not really sure where I'm going to go, actually.
Cool. I'm actually going to be doing the same thing. I'm going back east for a few days. And I'm hoping to extend that for a few more days to get some back east fall colors pictures.
Ooh, yeah.
Which, trust me, I know we love our aspens here in the West and in Colorado. It ain't nothing compared to maples and oaks and elms and everything else changing color back east. And I was last there in 2019 in upstate New York and got some pictures. It was to die for. And before we moved here, so we're coming up on 31 years here in Colorado Springs. So long before we moved here, we would go to Vermont in the fall to see the fall colors.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And it was incredible. And not only that, but it was also when they were tapping the maple trees.
Oh,
for the maple. Oh, the smells are just gorgeous. A little late for that, but I'm hoping to be able to spend a couple extra days out there, maybe in southwestern or southeastern Pennsylvania, northern Virginia, taking some fall colors pictures. So I'll be someplace else.
Nice. Okay.
We may not have a podcast the last week in October. We'll let you know. I know it's a couple months out. And we're still good, but we may skip a week as we're coming up because neither one of us going to be here to do one. So anyway, taking that trip with National Geographic to the Great Bear Rainforest, I want to give a shout out to the people at Fall Raven, a clothing company that opened up a store here in Colorado Springs a few months ago. Really top grade equipment. It's a little pricey, but trust me, I've got a couple of pieces. I got a coat there, a jacket from them, and some pants and stuff. Really top grade. You'll buy it once, never have to replace it stuff. I want to give them a shout out because they're helping me prepare for this trip to Great Bear Rainforest.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're not paying me for this and or anything like that. The other neat thing is that when you buy clothes from them, some of their stores, such as the one in Colorado Springs here, actually have a tailor that if your clothes need a little bit of adjusting, they have a tailor right there who will do it for you.
That's cool.
And I have a jacket that fits me well, but the sleeves are a little long on it. They have that jacket right now, and they're going to adjust the sleeves to get them just the right length for me that'll just fit me better.
That's really cool.
So those folks are really helping me prepare for this upcoming trip, which has been on hold for 3 years now. So
it's about dang time.
And I'm actually got so they told me make plane reservations, so I think we're actually going. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till you see those pictures, folks. That's going to be to die for.
I can't wait. I've got friends who live in that general region, and it's a different kind of beautiful out there.
Anyway, shout out to them. They're really helping me out. But I've got gear from REI that I'm taking on this trip. I got gear from Duluth Trading. I got this great rain jacket that's just like sealed seams and sealed zippers, and everything is sealed, and you probably can stand under a fire hose and come out dry. And I got that from Duluth Trading. I bought one of those, and a lot of gear. They do something, and I'm not going to make this a big commercial for Nat Geo, but one of the things is there's a lot of trips that they do where you need clothing or something, but you don't want to buy it because this is the only time you're going to use it.
Oh, yeah.
Which this trip is one of those things. There's some clothing that I'm going to need that I'm never going to wear here in Colorado. So they actually have a thing where you can rent like these boots and these rain pants or these pants or anything. And what's really cool is you sign up for it and you rent it, but I don't have to carry it. It'll be in my room on the ship when I get there.
That's awesome.
And when I'm done, I leave it in my room on my ship, and somebody collects it and sends it back to the company. And it costs a little bit of money, but the other part is if I were to buy it and carry it, some of this gear can be pretty heavy, and there's weight limits of how much luggage you can carry, and depends on what airline you take or anything, how much you pay for luggage. So it's pretty cool, this little rental thing. Obviously, you wouldn't want to rent everything you need because it costs you a lot of money. But some of these oddball things, I don't know when I'm going to need that again. Well, then don't buy it. Rent it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and like I said, I told them I already know what berth number I'm going to be in on the ship. So I'm going to be in this room. And they said, well, beat it when you get there. Awesome.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that was a pretty neat thing that they do. Well, Kevin, you got anything else?
I know this is not outdoor recreation related, but I was outside the entire time. I went to my first Rockies game, and it was actually my first time going to a professional major league sports game, whether it's football, hockey, baseball. I've always only gone to minor league games, so yeah, that was a ton of fun.
Good. How do I turn you into a baseball fan eventually?
And, I mean, there were thousands of people there. I got the tickets through my mom's work, so I got some free food and drinks. And
sweet.
And I brought my friends and their kid, and yeah, it was just a fun, good time.
Coors Field is a beautiful ballpark.
Oh, it's huge.
It's huge, and it's just gorgeous. It's what, 26 years old, I think now. And a lot of ballparks that are that age are already being torn down and rebuilt. That one's going to last forever because it's just beautiful. It's a nice addition to the Lodo neighborhood. It really was part of that revival, that whole lower downtown Denver neighborhood. But it's a beautiful ballpark. I have not been there in a couple of years. Obviously, the pandemic, you couldn't go. And I just haven't made it up there this year. We have tickets to the Rocky Mountain Vibes, which are here in town, the minor league team. So we go to those games a lot. We have season tickets there. But Coors Field is just one of the most beautiful. And I've seen, I will not say that I've seen a lot of major league ballparks, but I've seen a number. It is one of the prettiest ones out there.
Oh, yeah. I was just stunned.
Well, unfortunately, you couldn't bring him a win, though.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. So if you get a chance and you live in the Springs or Denver area, check out a game.
Absolutely. Maybe even get a win.
Yeah.
All I'll say is it's frustrating being a Rockies fan.
Okay.
Because a winning record is not known. It's not, but it's a fun place to go. It really is. It's a lot of fun. Beautiful place. You were there earlier because it was a day game. But you go there in some evenings, and the sunset you get to see off of over the left field the left field stands. It's just sometimes a beautiful sunset.
Yeah, I've seen photos of it.
Yeah,
it looks incredible.
Yeah, it's really nice. Well, Kevin, if we don't have anything else, I think we'll call it good. We'll let everybody here go and get and sign up for COS Ready. All right, everybody, thanks for listening.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Before you go, did you know you can rate and review our Studio 809 podcasts? That will help us because our egos really need to have thousands and thousands of listeners. But that helps our wonderful sponsors reach more ears too. And we do love our sponsors. So just go to Studio 809 or any individual 809 podcast in your iTunes or podcast app and click on ratings and reviews. Thanks.